Hello again, everyone. This is Joe, and in this stock market update, we're going to take a look at and focus on the semiconductors. We'll start off with the Nasdaq, though, and then we'll check in on the Semiconductors Holders ETF, the SMH, and the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, the SOX, SOX, and then look at 6 of the largest holdings within the SMH and see how they're doing at this point in time. All right, so stay tuned. Okay, let's start off here with the Nasdaq Composite Weekly. The Nasdaq was up 31.8 points for the week. Over the last 3 weeks, we've been up about 18 points, so we really haven't moved very much in the last 2 weeks at all. Pretty strong trend line that's in place, just like most of the averages have. Some of them are weaker than others, like the New York Composite Index. But this whole trend, from this February 2016 bottom, which I've got labeled as intermediate wave 4, and I believe that we are in that 5th wave, intermediate wave, and we're in the 5th minor wave of the 5th intermediate wave right now. So watching very closely to see if we start closing below that 10-week moving average and breaking this trend line here. We're watching that even, like on the daily chart will give us clues before it does even on the weekly chart. We look at the net high-low indicator that I keep on this. You can see we've been trending down. This peak right here was October 3rd. We've been trending down since that peak, and that's that last little piece on the composite where it continued pushing higher, and it isn't being supported, and that's this whole piece right in here. It's not being supported by stocks pushing to 52-week new highs. So I think that's a big question mark. Of course, that's just one little flag waving, but we're keeping our eye on a whole bunch of others. It's just one that I'm mentioning this week. All right, that's it for the Nasdaq. Let's take a look at the semiconductors on a weekly basis. This has been very strong, but you can see it looks almost like the Nasdaq Composite, actually. And it really hasn't moved much also over the last 2 weeks. It closed 102.94. We're up, basically 31 cents over the last 2 weeks on the Semiconductors ETF. Now, this is in a very strong mode. It is also well outside the Kellner channels, which is the dotted lines that I keep on here. And it has, just like on the Nasdaq, it hasn't broken below that. Look, watching to see if it breaks down, when it starts to break down and get below that 10-week moving average and breaking that trend line. So right now it continues to act strong. I do believe that we are in at a third leg up. I think we had one leg in here and the other leg, either whether you start it from here or start it from right over in here, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. But this is the picture of what we've got in here. And just like we got corrective action here and we got corrective action in here, we're going to get the same thing, only to a higher degree when this thing ends. Okay, so that's the picture, and it's the same thing on the Nasdaq Composite. Let's take a look at the SOX index. Now, wait a minute, this dotted line, what is that dotted line? That is the high. This is all the data I've gotten on this ETF back to 2007 highs. And actually, yeah, that is that 2007, and that is all the data I've got. And you can see this has continued to punch very strongly above those 2007 highs. It depends on which semiconductor stock you're looking at and which index. Let's take a look at the Philadelphia, the SOX index. You can see in this case, we've got a similar type picture for this last leg, but see this dotted line? That is the 2000 actually high. This has not, it's gotten above the 2007, but it hasn't gotten above the peak of 2000. And we're going to see that there is several major semiconductor stocks that are in the same situation. It does make me wonder, are we bumping up against a ceiling in here? Are we about to bump up against the ceiling? And especially given the fact that we're in this third leg, this could get very interesting very fast. So this is the picture on the semiconductors, on the indexes. Let's take a look at the top 6 holdings of the SMH. Okay, and why am I doing the top six? Well, the top six were the most interesting to me. I mean, they account for 42% of the holdings of SMH. And, basically we're talking about, let me pull it up. We got Taiwan Semiconductor, Intel, Nvidia, AMAT, Micron Technology, and Texas Instruments. And 4 out of these 5 are bumping up against either 2000 or 2001 ceilings right now. 2 of these, Taiwan and Nvidia, have blasted well above those. So 4 out of the 6 are bumping up against potential ceilings, which I think is rather interesting, especially given that the SOX index, which has got a pretty broad measure of semiconductors in it, is bumping up against that 2000 high also. Now here's the Taiwan Semiconductors, TSM. This is looking just like, the Nasdaq. I mean, it's very strong in here. It's a weekly chart. All these charts are weekly charts that I'm showing you. Over the last 3 weeks, though, this is actually, is this down? Yeah, down 8 cents over the last 3 weeks. Really hasn't gone anywhere. It's outside the Keltner channels, though. It continues to stay up here. The trend is still higher. This dotted line is the 2000 high. So you can see how it is pushed above that very extreme peak that basically, everything was in like rocket ship mode back in 1998 to 1999 into 2000, into early 2000. A little bit different trajectory going on right now. But, you do have to wonder a little bit as you watch this. But, again, this thing isn't breaking down yet. Okay, when we take a look at Intel, you can see we've had a pretty big move to the upside here. Intel is bumping up again. It's actually been down over the last couple of weeks. And this dotted line I've got here, it was one of the rallies that took place in 2000. I think this dotted line was near the high of a November rally in 2000. If you go to the peak, it's well above this, so it's not even close to approaching the actual high that was achieved in 2000, which was slightly above 75, and here we are at $44.63. So that's the picture on Intel. When we look at Nvidia, Nvidia has just been super strong. Of course, this has been very popular. It's been in the news a lot. People are talking about it. Now this is going up. This has got a pretty steep trajectory though here also. And looking at this, you got to sit back and say, okay, time to watch for a breakdown on this thing. Now the dotted line is well above the 2007 high, and the 2007 high was well above anything in 2000, 2001. So this thing has just continually pushed higher and higher. Although this move that you can see going on right now seems to be getting a little more vertical in terms of its than anything it did back in 2004 into 2007. You had short bursts of that kind of stuff back in 2000 into 2001. But right now, just kind of watching because it looks again like we've got potential, especially since like 2015, potential 5-wave sequence going on in here. So that's the picture on Nvidia, super strong, no sign of a breakdown yet. The next one I would say, so really it's Taiwan and Nvidia that have punched well above previous highs. The others, which I talked about here, Intel, AMAT, AMAT's bumping right up against the 2000 high. So you got to be very careful about that also because it's running into potentially some significant resistance. Tried to get through it this week and then sold back off. And you can see that over the last 3 weeks, where it closed 3 weeks ago, it closed 56.69. It's down 20 cents over the last 3 weeks. So it's really gone nowhere, right below the 2000 highs, the all-time highs, okay? So that's the picture on AMAT. And again, these are all staying outside the Keltner channel, above the 10-week moving average. But given that they're bumping up against these 2000 highs, you got to be, watching and be a little bit careful in here. Micron Technology, MU, similar type thing. The dotted line that I'm showing you is actually a rally high from 2001. And then you've got this peak back up here. It's not even close to the 2000 peak. And this is doing the same thing. They're all looking very similar. They're all in very strong trend lines, at least for the moment. Okay, that's the picture there on MU. And then the last one we'll just take a look at is Texas Instruments. And Texas Instruments is also bumping up against its 2000 high, which achieved in March. I think it was March. March of 2000, week ending March 3rd. And it's not quite there, but it's very, very close. And this is another one. This one looks a little more like a distinct 5-wave type sequence in here. Looking at, three legs that it's pushing up. And now we've got that third leg running up against the highs. You got to sit back and say, okay, you need to be paying attention. You need to be watching for potential breakdowns, especially on the daily charts. This is a weekly chart. But right now, we're definitely getting a pause in here right below the all-time high level from 2000. All right, that's the picture on the semiconductors. Thought we'd check in on the top holdings of the Semiconductors ETF. And interesting that, 4 out of the top 6 holdings are bumping up against all-time highs. And you have the same thing occurring with the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index bumping up against its all-time highs. All right, that's it for this weekend. Hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up and remember to share the video. And if you're not watching this, and you're probably not watching it on my website, if you're not, head on over to joehenches.net. Get on my email list and you can get updates for other stock market updates. I'm actually putting out free updates on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday that aren't being listed on YouTube. They're special updates that are given to the email subscriber list. So you might want to check that out. All right, that's it for today. Everyone have a great rest of the weekend and upcoming week.